Can you retire on just $500,000 in 2024? I've got 8 reasons saying you can. Now, before I get to that, 2023, rough year, right? Rough year. Yeah, we had some downs, but also some ups. Okay? As I'm recording this, November 2023 has done very well. So can we retire in 2024 on just $500,000? Here's number 1 reason why we can, out of 8. Here we go. There's never a perfect time to retire. I know that oh so well, because I retired in August of 2021 with just over $500,000, and everything had been going great. Everything was going great up until the time I retired and for a couple of months afterwards. You never know what's right around the corner though, guys. 2022 hit and boom, my investments went down the tank. So it doesn't matter really, even if things are going great when you think you're going to retire, you just never know. So you know what? Why not just retire? If you've got your plan set, if you know exactly what you're going to do, go for it. If you're confident in it, go for it. It doesn't really matter the time that you decide to retire as long as you think you're good. Okay? Do your planning. Just do your planning. Number 2, 2024 is an election year. Okay? Out of the 17 election years since World War II, only 4, 2 plus 2, only 4 have been a recession. Now, yes, may it happen? Sure, but people have been saying that for what? Last 18 months? And it's an election year on top of that. So I feel confident, okay? Not 100%, but again, election years don't really equate to recessions. So remember that, okay? Remember that. Along with number 1, have your plan set. And for us on moderate income, on $500,000, and if any of you are seeing me for the first time, my name is Duane. I retired in 2021 with just over $500,000. This is a channel for people on moderate retirement income. And I found out that the vast majority of viewers to this channel aren't subscribed. So if you want to help me get that message out to people on moderate income, because there's not a lot of channels that address that, think about subscribing and also like the video if you like as well. Number 3, it's all about your expenses, not the year you retired. If you have your expenses nailed down, and this is something you have to do a long time before you retire, figure out how much you're going to need. Yes, I heard you. My Ravens, they've got their expenses dialed down, man. They're ready to go. A long time before you retire, figure out the budget or the potential budget that you'll need for when you retire, okay? You can do that easily. They say that most people need 80%, 75% of their income when they retire. Now, luckily, I'm lower than that. I'm closer to 70. So if you use that as a guide, you can kind of, nail down those expenses. That's the main thing. Whenever you retire is your expenses. If your expenses are low, you're looking pretty good, okay? Expenses. Number 4. Now, I go by the what is called the 4% rule. That means that you can withdraw 4% of your nest egg every year and adjust each year for inflation, and you should be good for a 30-year retirement. If you've gone onto an online calculator or, even better, a financial person to help you, and it shows that your nest egg can handle a 4% retirement, you're good. Because that rule has been back-tested over 100 plus years. And we're talking about all the bad situations that have happened in the last 100 plus years, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has gone wrong. Number 1, the Great Depression, the 4% rule held. The hyperinflation of the 70s, the 4% rule held. World War II, the 4% rule held. 2008, it held. Every single year, going back 100 plus years, if you had taken 4% out of your nest egg, your retirement will last for 30 years. Now, you might be at 0, in those really bad years after 30 years, but every single year for the last 100 plus years, you have been able to take out a 4% of your nest egg and get through it. Okay. I really rely on that 4% rule. So if you're going by that, it doesn't really matter what year you retire in. So have your plan, know your plan, trust your plan. Number 5, have sufficient cash on hand so that you can deal with stuff like sequence of returns risks that hammered me in 2022. Luckily, I had planned to have enough cash on hand so I wouldn't have to dip into my retirement accounts too heavily, because that's the worst thing you can do, is dip into your accounts when the market is tanking. Sometimes it's unavoidable. With me, it was unavoidable in 2022 because that was before I'd started getting my YouTube income coming in. So if that's the case, you got to take money out. But the cash I had on hand really helped me with that, so I wouldn't have to take too much of that money out of my account. So for anyone, anytime you're retired, make sure you have sufficient cash on hand. How much is enough? I would say no more than 3 years of cash on hand, okay? I was going more towards 2. Even 1 is not bad, okay? But in these, last couple of years, I'd say at least 2, maybe 3. Anything more than that, and your money's not working for you, okay? You can't just it's like having cash in a mattress, right? You got to have your money work for you in the market, or even, T-bills, even I-bonds. So if you have sufficient cash on hand, at least 2 years now, maybe even 3, doesn't matter when you retire, you should be good, okay? Number 6, now more than ever, there are so many ways to earn side income in retirement. Side hustles. That's the cool and trendy way of looking at it. Ooh, side hustle. You got a side hustle? I do. How about you? So easy to earn that nowadays, right? Online. Even getting part-time work. Now, one thing against just traditional part-time work when you have to send in resumes and stuff like that, ageism. The older you get, the easier they can tell how old you are, right? I have a video going back about 6-8 months on how to prepare your resume for these modern times on trying to get part-time work after you retire. But there's never been a time where it's easier to get some kind of part-time work when you're retired. So if you go into retirement, don't rule that out. Think up something you've always loved that you might be able to make money off of. For me, I fell into the YouTube thing. It wasn't something I always loved. I just tried it and I loved it. And luckily I'm making income. But another side thing I have is writing. Now it hasn't taken off yet. I haven't got it off the ground, but hopefully I can make some income on that in the coming years. Okay. So even if you're retired, before you retire, you should figure out some stuff. It's like, what can I do for like 10, 15 hours a week to bring in some side income? It'll really help your nest egg in a down market. Number 7, also in modern times, it's so much easier to retire overseas if you want to. If that's something that has been a goal of yours, not too many easier times than now to retire overseas. I mean, a video I just did recently, the U.S. is only 22nd in retirement systems in the world. There are a lot of other countries that have us beat. Even more important, there are tons of countries that are less expensive than the U.S., right? And some of them have very good health coverage as well. So if you're worried about your $500,000 nest egg and you are adventurous, retire overseas. Man, that'll cut. I have a friend who retired in Colombia. He's a retired teacher. He is living off about half of what he was here, maybe even a little less than that. And he was retired on a modest teacher's pension. So you can do it. He loves it. He's having a great time. So look overseas. If that's something you want to do, that'll really help your nest egg. And number 8, hey, if you're scared to retire, try it part-time. What do I mean by that? If you're in a job that is flexible, let's say you had a full-time job and you go months ahead of time, don't just spring it on them. If you say, in 6 months or even in a year, I'm looking to retire. Is there any way that we can cut back my hours? Instead of 40, how about 20 hours a week? That'll allow you to ease into retirement. If you're not totally confident, on how the market's going or the economy, anything. And Worst comes to worst, hey, you can always say after like a year of this or 6 months, you know what? I'd like to increase my hours again. Now, number one, you have to be in a job that's flexible enough to do that. I know sometimes that's tricky, but that's one of the easiest ways to do it. It's almost like it's a part-time retirement. See how you like it. Working 20 hours a week. You might not like it. Some people don't. Some people will elect to stay full-time. Okay. But there you go, guys. There's so many ways that we can get ready to retire pretty much whenever we want to retire. Okay. Look at some of those steps. And again, going back to the first step, there's never going to be a perfect time to retire. Never. Okay. I don't know. It doesn't matter how confident you are. You never know what's right around the corner, but you can be prepared for that so you can retire anytime you want. That's what I got, guys. And hey, look at some of those steps. They might help you. They might help you out. And if they do, as always, from the chilly high desert here, we got this.